This is the Just Believe podcast. I'm your host, HB Mack, also Herbie as well. Look, today I'm honored. I met this young man a couple months ago. The chemistry that we connected, I felt like I was just talking to like one of the homies or like a brother type. I got a chance to know a little bit about his story, and I had to have him as a guest. This man is super talented, probably one of the most talented people that I know from the range of his abilities that he do is outstanding. Not only he spreads about mental health and suicide prevention, he also talented like a comedian and whatnot. I didn't even know he had this in him, but he does other ventures as well, and we get the chance to learn about it and hear his story and how he's making a change and impact in this community that we have in mental health. And this is Leon Flowers. How are you doing, bro?
I'm doing great, man. I think you put an N at the end of Leo.
Leo Flowers.
Yeah, my dad name is Leon. And Leo actually runs in the family. So like I'm Leo. My full name is Leonard, but people call me Leo. And then my dad is Leon, and then my cousin is Leander, and my aunt is Leona, and my sister's Leolin. So there's a bunch of Leos.
Is there any reason why? Like, I'm pretty sure once you got older, you actually.
So, what's crazy is, my name being Leo and my dad being Leon, I'm like, oh, Ma, you named me after my dad. How cool is that? She was like, I didn't name you after your dad. I named you after this dude I dated named Leo back, when she was in her 20s. And she was like, he was really polite and treated her well. And that's who she named me after. And I was like, I think I like the dad story better. Like you didn't have to, like let me believe in Santa Claus. Like I didn't need all of that. Like there's a time to lie to your kid, and that was a perfect window. But so yeah, I thought it was, it was just happenstance. There's no.
I don't know why I just had like Mortal Kombat like finish him in my head.
Yeah. I was like, you couldn't just let me have that moment. I'm trying to have that Disney movie, and you're like, nah.
This is reality, son.
Yeah. So
as we that was an incredible story. That's crazy how like there's some sort of like Leo, Leon, Leandra in your family. That's powerful. Like honestly, it's like not only like I from the outside looking in, I love things like stories like that just because it shows how tight the family is. Like no matter what, like even though we may have our disagreements, we still family. Look at the name. Like not only the last name, but the first name, like we still mean something. We have to move as a unit, which is unbelievable to say the least. But honestly, I just wanted to learn more about your story. I want to learn more about your story and how did you end up from because I was told that you was a D1 athlete and how being a D1 athlete and the athlete mindset, we all break. I mean, all gas, no break, right? Like we just go hard. We want to be the best that we can be. And then sometimes when you don't hit that level of success, which an athlete would say is hitting that pro level of whether it's the NFL, major leagues, NBA or whatever. And if you don't hit that, sometimes you feel like, man, I didn't make it. How was you able to find yourself and be okay with not making it to the next level, but use this as like motivation to do an incredible podcast that you have? So can you just tell us a little bit about your story?
That's a great question, because I think a lot of people who are aspiring to get to the next level and whatever they're doing, whether that means going from when I worked at Popeyes, you wanted to go from being a cook to the cashier, because cashiers had the cushy job, and then you want to go from cashier to manager. And so, no matter what position you are, in some respects, you're trying to level up for a lot of people. And then there are people who I respect and admire, who like janitors, who they have been a janitor their entire life, and they save away money, and then they die, and they leave like $1 million to the school that they've been working in. So there's this idea of leveling up and then reaching a point where you hit a threshold or a ceiling, and you can see the next level. You're like, get there. I think it becomes digestible when you realize that one, getting there is not going to make you happy, right? Like, yeah, you'll feel accomplished. It'll be a great moment of achievement and something that, you get to share and say, hey, look what I've done, et cetera, et cetera. But once you get there, like that moment of achievement, that promotion, that excitement around all that wears off. And then you gotta get right back to work. It's just like getting married. You get people think about getting married, but nobody really thinks about marriage, right? Everybody wants to get married. Of course you want to get married. You're going to get flowers, the dress. People are going to be taking photos of you. There's going to be you do a little choreographed dance. You get to drink. You get to, all those things, right? Who wouldn't want to get married? It's a celebration. It's a feast. Who doesn't want to party? But marriage, like when we talk about marriage, we're talking about periods of boredom, moments of isolation, feeling like you're alone, really having to be vulnerable in front of someone, right? Sharing all of you, letting them see you cry, letting them see you be hurt and frustrated and fail and succeed and try again. No, people don't think about that part, right? And so I think part of what helped me let go of the NFL dream was, like I said, one is realizing, hey, even if I got there, there's still so much more work to be done, because you could get, drafted, right? But you could still get cut.
The same year.
That could hurt.
The same year.
Same year.
Same
they
year.
could be like, here is, $5 million, here's 10. And then, because we've all heard the story about the kid who gets drafted, he gets the big payout, and he's just been injury prone. He just can't seem to stay healthy. And that kind of frustration is even more heart-wrenching, especially to tell somebody, yo, yeah, I was in the league. And they'd be like, oh, how come I never heard of you? Oh, my God. Like, when people say I never heard, because even I get that, with stand-up of like, oh, you do stand-up? It's like, have I heard of you? Like, have you heard of me? Like that's such a insulting, hurtful question, right? So, realizing that there's still going to be emotional management and coping skills that you're going to have to utilize at that level, and your achievement doesn't change that. And then two, I played against Randy Moss, and when you play against an NFL level player at the college level, you realize like there's no chance for you. Like
it's a different year. Yeah.
It's a huge, it's so vast, that space between college and the pros. And then even in the pros, Randy Moss was still in the 1% at the pro level. So there's pros, and then there's just like, and then there's just guys who are just, even like if there was another league but beyond the NFL, like he would be in that league. Right?
What's crazy that we share similar stories. I play basketball, not football. I was just I got hit one time in football practice. I was like, coach, this ain't for me, man. He told me he's like, run up the middle, go catch the ball. I'm like, all right, cool, let's go. As soon as I catch the ball, there's a linebacker and another linebacker that I didn't see. I got mollywopped. I was like, yo, I'm done. So let me stick to the hoops. And I started playing basketball. And I've been pretty good, but I didn't realize how good I was to the AAU circuit. And then I started playing against guys that most of them, not most of them, but some of them made it to the NBA, about like 10, 11 of them. One of them got there, had a cup of coffee, and that was it. I never got there. I never even got a chance to get recruited by school because my grades were so bad. So like always, every time I come around the way, people are like, yo, how did you not make it to the NBA? I tried out for the G League one time. And honestly, I wasn't prepared for it. Like, I didn't even train. I was just life. But I say this because at one point, I had to give up the hoop dreams, right? And when you love a sport, I love a sport not because of the money. I love it because of the competition. Like, yo, I want to be the best I can be. I want to sit there and guard the best player and said, I shut him down or I dropped 40 on him, right? But then when you realize, like, damn, I didn't get there. Like, you hit a certain age, let's say 21. Still a small window that you can get there, but you have to learn how to shift your mind. I was letting go of not getting to that level, but then I was like, you know what? But I did have a chance to play with a lot of N1 cats around the way from being from New York. I played with against most of them, but I did get a chance to play against like the Ben Gordons, the Kyle Lowry, the Charlie Villanuevas, and so on and so on, right? And it just let me know, like, yo, my talent was there. Maybe if I would have went to college, who knows what would have happened? My body could have shut down instantly because it's a whole different level of the college, from high school, college to pros, and people don't understand that. The mental part for me where I had to let go was what I know, I can teach others, right? For the kid who just wants to hoop it, but talented, but don't have the structure, let me teach him. That is still me being in the game and doing that. I was coaching kids for like free just to do it for the love of the game. And that helped me cope, as you said, that we need to learn how to coping methods to just let go. And I cope from that. Like, oh, yo, cool. Like this is me. This is like my NBA, right? Like I'm the Phil Jackson of this. I got kids that's showing up, calling me random hours. Hey, can we practice? And I'm like, oh, I love this, right? Like, you know, when you're single, no kids or whatever, you can do all of that. But that was something that helped me adjust from the big dream of like, damn, I didn't get there. Because when you have the dream and that fantasy, it's hard to let go, to be honest with you. It really is.
And you know what else? You touched on something of like, you know, what you learned you can share. And I think there are a lot of people out there who've been let go from their jobs, from their careers, even relationships, heartbreak, the lessons in there. And that's the thing you have to, you know, the first step is feel the pain. You know, that's the first thing. I got all intellectual, but the first thing you want to do is let yourself feel that hurt, feel that sting, feel that pain, feel that feel decimated, feel defeated, feel disparaged, feel all of it, and marinate in it. I like to wallow in the pain, like, oh, that hurt, and that could take a couple days, it might take a couple weeks. Feel the grief, feel the anger, feel the ridiculousness, and go back through the memories. And then after that, see if you can break down the elements of what you loved about it. I'm reading Huey P. Newton's book right now, Revolutionary Suicide. And he talks about how he keeps getting in trouble when he goes to court and he has to defend himself. And he said, what a lot of people don't realize is that in order for the court or judge or jury to convict you, they have to prove that you committed the different elements of the crime. So like if you did armed robbery, there has to be an element of fear, and there has to be an element of you having a weapon. You need both fear. So like if you have a weapon, but there's no fear, you can get off with robbing a bank, right? If you pull out a gun and they weren't afraid. And so it's the same thing with, and that's how he would get off. He would figure out what are the elements of the crime and argue each element and prove that. And if you could get one of those not to be included, you get off. So when you look at your basketball career, your football, your work, your relationship, to sit down and be like, what were the elements that I enjoyed, that I loved, that I want to recreate? Maybe an element like was, having a team and feeling part of a team. So how do you recreate that element in your next iteration? If the element was to travel, some people, I had a friend, he played football, joined a football team just because he wanted to travel to the different states. People join the military for that same reason. All right, so if that's the element that you liked, then, start booking trips to places or get a sales job where you have to travel. But it's about, if you go through a breakup, and she broke your heart and you're like, oh my God, what was it about her or about the relationship? What was the element? Was it how she smelled? Is it the time you spent together? Was it, the long walks on the beach? Whatever that element was for you, now you know what to look for in the next relationship, the next job, the next profession that you're moving on to. And then, you could also incorporate, like you said, the sharing of what you learned of like, so now here's, I felt the pain, I felt the emotions. And then, I broke down the elements of what I really, and then also look at the elements of what you didn't like about it. Maybe you loved traveling for the sports team, but you hated the workouts, whatever that was. And then you share that information with others. And that's what, like, I've been seeing a heart specialist recently. I have some mild plaque buildup in my heart. I just found this out. And so, but before I shared it, there was definitely a lot of emotions around it. I felt that pain. And then I broke down the factors that may be contributing to it. And, or we can say, keep with the word elements that were contributing, and elements that we need to look at, and what is manageable. And then I shared it on Facebook. I shared it with my friends. Here's been my experience. Here's what I'm going through. And now I have people reaching out to me because they've had a similar experience. And now I don't feel alone in my journey. People know, my moms know, family have reached out, friends have reached out, people I didn't know were friends are reaching out, and they're sharing their story. And so now we're moving forward together, right? That's the part that destroys us, is when we feel like we are experiencing our pain alone. So, feel it, and then break down the elements, and then share that story so that you can, have a family, a tribe, a camp, and feel connected with others.
I'm so glad you shared that, because, obviously this podcast is geared to like mental health and suicide prevention. I was feeling alone, right? Until I really started sharing my story about like my multiple attempts. The community that came out of left field, just like similar to your story, was like overwhelming, right? I was just like, oh, okay, like, all right, I didn't know you cared about me this much. I didn't know, like, people that, like you said, you know from like, hey, yo, what's up? Hey, how you doing, Joe? From that level to like, yo, wow, like this person actually cares about me, to really tell me their inner thoughts and what they was going through and how they was handling it. The first time I came out and told the world that I was, hey, I'm a suicide survivor, the guys that ran into my DM that I've been knowing for years never mentioned anything that they was going through any mental health challenges themselves. So when I got that, I was like, oh, wow, now I'm building a community that feels similar to like the basketball locker room, where it's like, yo, hey, I ain't got my A game on. Yo, Leo, let me text you real fast. Let me DM you. You might have something for me today, or vice versa. And that is so powerful. That's why I was like, yo, I gotta have him back on. I gotta connect with him, whether it's on the podcast or it's outside of the podcast, because I think what you're doing and how you're doing it is incredible. Like, I tell people all the time, I like to give them their roses while they can still smell them. I'm not going to wait till something tragic happen. Life is way too short. I think this pandemic taught us a lesson. Hey, if you're feeling somebody and you love them or you like them, just tell them, right? And that's how I am. I just like, yo, I love your movement. I love what you're doing and how you're doing it. And that led me to really want to ask you this question. After the after the football, and one would imagine it was difficult for you to move forward in life. What was the first step to help you, like, all right, well, the NFL thing didn't happen. What can I do now?
Cry, man. That was the first step, bro. Man, when I tell you, being in that doctor's office, and I say cry, but really it's to it was about feeling the feelings, because you're not just sad, you're angry. And just to give the people a story, I was in the game, I was hit, I had a double stinger come down both my arms. And the coach was like, well, you can't continue, playing in this game. We're going to have to, do a MRI and scan and all that. And they did. And they found I had 3 bulging discs in my neck, and said I could never play football again. And the doctor told me this, this is not coming from the coach. The doctor is, and my girl was at the time was with me. as he's telling me this. And then that was it. He just kind of like, he was like, we could do surgery, but you might have a 10% handicap. And I was like, well, I'm not doing surgery, bro. I'm like, I was like 22, 21 at the time. And he was like, all right. And that was it. And I was like, wow, this thing that I put so much time and effort into. And he was like, ends with a handshake. You know what I mean?
Like it was motionless. It wasn't like
it wasn't nothing.
I'm just doing my job. All right, man. You figure it out.
Yeah. My girl is there, and I'm like, what? In my head, I'm trying to. You're stunned. I think that first stage of grief is you're just numb. You're like, wait, what? I'm not playing football. Like, what does that mean? Well, you're stunned. You're confused. Do I still get my scholarship? Can I practice with the team? How is the team going to respond? And I think that was the other part that hurt was, like I'm there with my girl, and, I'm young, I'm in my 20s, and I'm destroyed inside, but I'm like, I can't cry in front of my girl. So I'm trying to hold it in. And then I'm thinking that the coaches would be like, oh, I'd get like some like, man, that's awful. That sucks.
Some sort of sympathy.
And some sort of sympathy. Something in front of the players. I thought that there might be a memorial, like not a memorial, but just some type of, hey, our guy Leo Flowers, we love him. Here's what happened. And it was just nothing.
Strictly business.
It was just right back to business. And that really hurt, man. You feel like you're really a big part of the team, and then you just kind of feel dismissed. And I think when you're young and you have so much energy and so many distractions, you don't really feel it. You don't really allow yourself to feel the pain, right? You don't allow yourself to feel the anger, the disappointment, the sadness. I think I played racquetball for 3 hours every day.
Just to get out the stress.
Just to get, and looking back, not even realizing I was stressed, just like, yeah, I want to play racquetball. But when I look back, man, I was just like anything not to be by myself, to be active, to feel like, a student, and, so yeah, it was.
I know, I definitely get it. For people that's listening, that's not an athlete, it sucks, man. Like it does, especially when it's by injury, because you feel like your body betrayed you.
Yeah. No,
I definitely get it.
You feel betrayed, and you do so much, and up to that point, you feel invincible.
Yes.
Up to that point, and you just like injury. I don't even understand the injury. Like, what is that? And,
hey, just give me some Tiger Balm. I'll be good, man. Come on.
I'm good, man. Let me put some ice on it, and let's get back in this.
No, I definitely get it.
So that I think that I wish I had been better at being vulnerable.
But it's a lesson, though.
It's a lesson. But when I look back, I go, wow, how many other, because right now I'm mentoring a kid in college, and he's going through some injuries. And it's, I'm like, how many more people are struggling with, and don't have to be. It's like, man, like just allow yourself to break down and feel it. And then you could move forward so much faster.
So after the injury that set you back, I wouldn't even say setback. I think personally how I feel about life is like when we're born, we have a path that's already set out for us. Sometimes we may not understand it until we get there, right? Mm-hmm. For me, not making it to the NBA was just similar to you. Mine was the injuries. It was just the fact of I couldn't focus in school. Like, my sister dying from brain cancer. It was just a lot. So basketball was my like coping. I didn't care about school. Not because I was dumb. I just mentally, I just couldn't do it. And when I finally like got an opportunity to play against a some NBA players. For me, it was like, you know what? This is like my MVP type of thing. This is my everything. But the lessons that I was able to learn from it got me to where I needed to be now, the person that I am today. Because like once you get a big contract, quote unquote, will you still be the same? You're introduced to a different lifestyle, right? You're introduced to different people. For me, I'm a very private person. I like to just sit back and chill and do what I do. But then I look at it like, yo, I was meant to do this, because there's not enough people that look like you and I that's talking about mental health, that's actually telling young men, dude, it's cool to be vulnerable, bro. I was there with you. It's not a weakness. It's cool. And especially when they look like you, they feel more comfortable. Like, all right, cool. Not saying he's like my dad, but he's like a big brother type of thing. And if he went through it and he's doing this, like, look how successful he is. So when basketball or whatever sport that you're into doesn't go right, there's other ways that you can pivot too. For you, what was your first pivot into like a new career?
After the injury, I went ahead and got my master's in counseling psychology. So I was already working with inmates in my undergrad, and I was working at a group home for kids during my undergrad. So I got a graduate assistantship. An assistantship basically is when they pay for your grad school, like books, school, everything paid for. And so I had a graduate assistantship because my college, I was on a dean's list undergrad, got an assistantship, and was counseling inmates and married couples during my grad school. And so to me, that, I just went into the mental health side of it to see, to work with people and try to connect them, and also, explore my own demons, and try to get my own personal answers, but also just really fascinated with the human mind and human behavior, and why people do the things that they do, and just understanding relationships. So yeah, that was my first pivot. I just went straight into grad school. I was just like, how do I stay in school longer then?
Outstanding. Congrats on that as well. That is outstanding.
Thank you, bro.
No, yeah, no. For me, like, it was hard. It was difficult. Like, I was just working like jobs to jobs, and but I wasn't happy, right? Wasn't happy not because of the job or the amount of money I was making. It was just more of a demons that I was facing, and then I couldn't handle them, right? And then I couldn't handle them, and when I checked myself into the mental hospital, that's when I realized, hold on, this experience is kind of tainted. Maybe there need to be maybe I'm supposed to go here to learn about this, because I never heard of like mental health or therapy or anything, like, especially in the hood. In the Bronx, somebody, you seen a therapist? Oh, you're a nut. That was the first thing everybody would say as soon as you mentioned therapy. So now that I went through my trauma and realized, okay, let me learn about this mental health. Let me actually be a voice and be a solution to breaking down this stigma, because people that look like us, they don't talk about it enough. Or when they do talk about it, I want to be a part of that, part of the solution, not the problem, So no, I love it. I love it. Now I have to ask you, because you said this, and now that you're doing stand up, how the hell did that happen?
So that's a great question, because a lot of people ask that, and it's all connected for me, right? So, excuse me. When we talk about, it goes back to talking about the elements, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. When we talk about the elements, it's like, what are the elements that I want in my life? What are the things that I value? And I was a huge Batman fan, and I'm still a Batman fan. And of course, like, one cannot be Batman. There's only one Batman. But I said, what are the elements of Batman that I appreciate? And I love that Batman is worldly. He takes physical care of himself. He has a beautiful woman or women, he's kind of, and, a dope car, and philosophical, and he trained in martial arts and different, ways of fighting, and, but also just intellectually, robust and vibrant. And I was like, those are the things that I want to incorporate into my life. And so, therapy it allows me to connect with people, to travel. You could do therapy anywhere in the world, and not in terms of licensing, but like I coach now. And the reason why I got into coaching instead of counseling is because counseling is limiting in terms of where I can counsel. Like it's like if you're licensed only in California, you can't do anything in Iowa. That's ridiculous to me. And so I was like, well, let me go into the coaching realm because I want to be a man of the world and travel and work with people no matter where they are. And so I got into coaching, and then also, I got a beautiful girl. And so, but specifically on the therapy, everything is communication.
Yes.
Everything's communication. Whether, you hear people say, well, they just don't communicate. Everyone communicates. Even when someone's not communicating, they're communicating, right? If you walk in a room and your girl has her arms crossed and her back to you, she's communicating something to you. If she says one word, gives you one word answers, she's communicating to you. If she's talking a lot, she's communicating. So we are always communicating at all times, eye contact, no eye contact, et cetera, et cetera. So there's always communication. And we learned everything in life except how to communicate more effectively. Now, some of us who are extroverts are better at communication than perhaps introverts in terms of direct communication. But we could all learn these things. But the specific tool of a relationship is learning how to connect. Every argument, no matter whether you're talking about money, sex, family, or children, everything comes down to connection. Are we connecting on this? And so teaching people how to connect effectively so that they're not at each other's throats. Because this whole love is great, but love doesn't teach you communication, right? So we have to learn how to listen. We have to learn how to de-escalate a situation, know when to push, know when to release, know when to just hold our ground, et cetera, et cetera. So I work with a lot of people on being able not only to communicate with their spouse, but how to communicate with their employees, with their boss, how to negotiate a raise, how to circumnavigate, work culture or friends or everything is as it comes down to human interaction. Whether you get charged the extra $50 on your phone bill, or you're trying to upgrade, your flight status. It's all about communication and really being able to listen to other people. And that's what stand-up is. And that's what football is. Football is physical communication. I'm reading your body language. If you put your hand a certain way, that means you're going to do this. If you look here, you're going to do that. A linebacker is trained to look at the quarterback's eyes. So we are at all times communicating with other people. And so for me, it was like, all right, I can no longer communicate on a football field, and I can't communicate physically the way I want to. So now I have to bring that into an intellectual realm and into a relational realm and see how to do that. So for me, the foundation is I've always loved the idea of connecting with people and with others. But what I really love is helping other people to connect with other people. And I get like a huge joy out of that,
No, I love hearing that. That was great. That was a great breakdown. What got you into podcasting? Because your podcast is called Before You Kill Yourself.
Well, for me, when I was 9, I told my mom when I turned 40, I was going to end my life. And, I'm 45 now, just turned 45 yesterday, March 18th. Oh, I know this airs in May.
Bro, you don't look like it. That's what I'm trying to say. Brother. You don't look like it.
It's the ring light, man. It's the ring light. Come on, son. It's the ring light. I got filtered.
You don't look like it. I'm dead.
So, and it was something that, when I got into my 30s and I'm 35 and then 36 and, I'm thinking about this and I was like, what was it that made me say that to my mom? And looking back, I realized I had always felt like a burden. I'd always felt like her life would have been better. And if she didn't have me, she wouldn't have to worry about the bills, and she wouldn't have to worry about clothes and food and money and sending us to school, and she wouldn't have to work so hard, you know. And so I really felt, when she would come home work, sometimes she worked two jobs to put me and my sister through Catholic school. I could feel, the weight of what she was doing. And I grew up feeling like a burden and not wanting to be a burden to anybody. When I lived out my car for a few years, I didn't tell anybody, even though I had friends and family that I could have talked to, could have leaned on, could have asked for help or money, but I didn't want to be a burden. And I realized so many people are, especially men, we're trying to maintain this perfect facade that we have everything together, and when we're crumbling inside, right? And asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's what you do. It's what you do when you're in a camp. It's what you do when you're in a team. When you watch a football game, and at the end of every play, you will invariably see the guy who is on the ground being helped up by a guy who is standing. And so, why is it that it's okay for physical help? You're in a weight room, a guy can spot you, and that's acceptable. But emotional help, emotional support, all of a sudden, no, I got this. Don't worry about it. I can handle this. I'll figure it out myself. It's like, no, man, you need a spotter. You need somebody to extend a hand. And that's how we all get through life. That's how companies, look at any company, every company right now during this pandemic has their hand out.
Yeah.
They're all trying to get the banks. How many handouts, how many times have they had to be bailed out? The car companies getting bailed out. There are countries, think about this. There are countries that have to get bailed out, that are asking for help, that are asking for assistance. My mom is from Belize, and there's tornado or hurricane seasons that come through and flood the area and destroy places, and they need help financially.
Yeah.
Haiti, America needs help. I mean, listen, don't act like because America's a superpower doesn't mean that they don't ask for help. That's why we have trade deals with China, and we joined the European Union and NATO, because we realize that as much of a superpower as America is, that we can't exist alone. We're not an island. We have to work with others. We have to work with Mexico. We got our neighbors up top, Canada. And so we have to think globally. That's what NASA is. When you look at the space stations up in space, it's not just Americans in their space station. No, we're sharing space stations. And so the world is working together. It's preposterous for us to think that we shouldn't also be working together and taking advantage of the opportunities and the assistance that's out there for us.
Yeah, no, perfect. Incredible story. I'm definitely glad to connect with you. I'm definitely happy that you was able to share this, because I feel like this is going to touch so many people. I love the way that you broke everything down. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but before I let you go, if there was something that you had to say to someone that can just help shift their mind to, you know what, he's right, let me actually go reach out for help, what would it be?
It sucks. It sucks, man. Like right now, you're going through something, and you can feel it in your stomach, or maybe behind your eyes, or in your hands, maybe in your jaw. And you're doing a good job of keeping the facade and pretending like everything's okay and you got it together. But it sucks. It sucks to feel like you got to do this alone. And I know what's happened to you is that you've reached out before, you've asked for help, and you were shamed for it. Whether it was your dad or your mom or a best friend, or coworkers, or even strangers, you were shamed and you were humiliated for reaching out and and needing help. And so you've learned not to do it anymore. And I want to say that that it's a bummer. It's a bummer that that's happened to you. It's awful. And but keep reaching out. You know, it's like J.K. Rowling had 50 rejection letters. You know, people laughed at her. They were like, "This will never work." And there's a list of people who've been rejected, and ideas have been turned down, and doors slammed in their face, and laughed at and humiliated. But they kept going and they persevered. So just know that the pain sucks. If you want to cry, cry. If you want to punch the pillow, punch the pillow. If you want to wallow on the ground like a 9-year-old and throw a temper tantrum, do that, man. Feel all the feelings. And then after you've gotten it all out, you know, cry in the shower if you have to, collapse. Just be like, and then once the dust settles and you take a shower, you know, you brush your teeth, floss, and you say, you know what, tomorrow when I get up, I'm gonna reach out. I'm gonna reach out to 5 people or 10 people and just say, I'm hurting right now. I'm hurting. I'm not okay. Just start there and see what happens. And then even if it's a stranger, even if it's somebody you haven't talked to in 20 years, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised that people who you haven't talked to in 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you'll be surprised at the fact that they thought about you and how you're doing and are waiting for someone that they can help and be of assistance to and be of value to. So give them the opportunity to help you. Think about it that way. Give them the opportunity to show that they're a valuable human being. And that's why you're in the situation you're in, because we all need that. We all need those opportunities to feel like we're a part of something else outside of ourselves.
Perfect. Well, unfortunately, we're running out of time. Please let everybody know where to find you at.
You can go to, if you want one-on-one coaching, go to thrivewithleo.com. That's for one-on-one coaching. I work with CEOs, people who are type A, like they're just killing it at work and crushing it, but they feel alone at home. They feel like they're all the effort is for nothing and without meaning. And I help people find meaning and purpose in what they're doing and help them find connected again to the things that they love. You can go to leoflowers.com for my stand-up stuff, links to my Instagram and social media and all that stuff. So leoflowers.com for social media and comedy, thrivewithleo.com for one-on-one coaching.
Perfect. Until then, guys, see you next time.
Peace.